as we head from the mysterious to up in space, portals, wherever the hell they're coming from. It's time for the UFO Report. Here comes little Tim Seanor.
Nobody's gonna know.
They're gonna know.
All right, my man. You're shaded in darkness tonight. You're shaded in darkness. I mean, glow stick. I don't know is the power out down there or what's going on?
I burnt out my cine lamp, so yeah, I'm gonna have to replace it. But I'm working with my effect lighting tonight only, so sorry about that. I'm in the dark a little bit, but I can still read and talk UFOs.
Well,
So we're good.
that's good because your simulated lighting honestly is working like crap. It really is, but that's okay. It sets a mood. And hey man, I was out at the Sasquatch site on the weekend.
Oh, tell me more.
Yeah, I was out on the Sasquatch site, and for some reason in that area, I'm telling you, man, action only happens between like 8 o'clock and 10:30. Before that and after that, it is boring. Absolutely boring.
That's odd. What do you account for that activity slot or time?
I don't know. Got to try and figure that out. I got to talk to Robin McRae about it tomorrow night when she's on for the Cryptid Report. But it's just trippy.
Yeah, that's odd. So we'll explain the activity you got between 8 and 10:30.
There were a lot of orb sightings. A lot of like fairy type sightings because we don't have lightning bugs in our area. So something was lighting up, the quick flashes. And I saw one flash coming down, big flash coming down one of the logging roads. And it was so brief. I thought there was a vehicle coming, but there were because it almost looked like, when you take a big dip in the road, the headlights kind of bounce from the shocks.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. And nothing came by. And, we were hearing cracks in the forest around us on both sides, like tree branches just going snap. We heard one rock or two being thrown and hitting around, but nothing that was too entertaining, shall we say.
Well, what do you connect those orbs to that you're seeing?
I think it's part of the entire energy of the creature, man. As stupid as this sounds, okay? And I'm gonna put some tinfoil on right now, okay? As stupid as this sounds, I think that before the Sasquatch show up, they send in the orbs, like almost like an energy vortex to check out the area before they start coming around.
So it's interesting that you're saying orbs because sometimes their orbs are connected to ET and sometimes they're connected to Sasquatch. And I mean, can they look similar? Do they act similar? Is it the same thing?
Same thing. At least in this area, it would be. We didn't see any UFOs. The moonlight was too bright. It was really drowning. It was a day after the full moon, so it was definitely drowning out the stars. But we did see Starlink, which was kind of cool.
Sweet.
Yeah. I did one little experiment that failed. Well, so far is we were out there. We got there just before darkness, so right at dusk we got there, and the first thing I did was at the tree right by where we saw the guy last year. I put at about 6 feet high. I put a glow stick in the tree, and we were there until midnight, and the glow stick never moved. I'm a little upset about that, but it's not unexpected, considering that if they were there, they've maybe never seen a glow stick before and may not have wanted to touch it.
Well, we had luck with the glow stick experiment when we were out there in the nowhere land.
Oh, did we? I didn't know.
You don't remember?
Oh, I remember. I just wasn't sure if we were allowed to talk about it.
Oh, well, I was just throwing just a nugget. Yeah, that was cool. So, I mean, we know the experiment works. The thing is, though, no footprints that we could really see around it to confirm that it didn't just fall by gravity, but at least, you know,
Well, Merle did see that shadow kind of pull it down. Merle did see
yeah,
that, but I
yeah.
don't think we got it on tape.
I don't think so either, but I'll tell you what, it works in mysterious ways, and the fact is, it's hard to kind of wrap your head around the orbs thing, because it seems like sometimes it's Sasquatch, sometimes it's not, at least in the cases that you're talking about and that we've discussed. Um, and it's kind of interesting how they could be interlocked and connected, and the fact that you say it happens right before a potential Sasquatch, I find that really interesting, and is that kind of confirmed with some of the other, researchers that you have interviewed? Did they also kinda come across that?
Sometimes. Sometimes, but I mean, Sasquatch research, I mean, it all depends if you're talking to people who believe in the woo or you're talking to the nuts and bolts people or the flesh and blood people, whatever you want to call them. They're
Hmm.
both going to have different perspectives on it. Anyways, my man, let's get into David Grusch once again
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
because I don't know if you saw this 1 hour video
I
of him
did.
provided by Yes Theory on YouTube. But the one thing I didn't think it was a high quality interview. There was nothing in depth that is gonna really shake you regarding it. Okay.
Disagree. I
But,
disagree.
but hear me out for a second.
Okay.
Hear me out. The one thing that I was really proud when I watched it earlier today was that I think they really did a great job at humanizing him, you know, uh,
Oh,
eh,
yeah.
showing his wife on camera, their 3 family dogs, you know, what he has gone through, not since even before his name was let out. Like there was a couple years of this really building up to his coming out in public, and I thought they did a great job at really humanizing him to a side that we haven't seen from a lot of other people. We've never seen it from Lou Elizondo or Chris Mellon or David Fravor or any of these people, and these guys I thought did a great job of it. Your thoughts?
Um, yeah, 100%. Humanizing him, showing him as just a regular dude, going ATV riding, showing before he did the congressional whistleblower hearing and after, and definitely getting a little in depth. But I thought there was actually a few big takeaways that I had never heard before, and maybe it's just me, but I wrote down some pretty sweet nugs that I felt were pretty pertinent to the story. And so, just to dive kind of into it, about 10 minutes into it, he's talking about reprisals that he had, uh, had to go through before came forward as a whistleblower and after. So he discusses how his peers were, some of his peers at least were saying that he needs to stay away from this topic, and how some other people were trying to convince him that this was a legitimate topic, and some of the insiders he was speaking to kind of made it um, so close to the bone for him, and you could tell that it was impactful for him that he felt compelled to come forward, and it showed kind of some of the insight that he gave, and went through in his decision process to come forward. And so, I agree that it humanized him, but, that 10 minutes kinda showed how, he personally had to struggle with this topic and had to kind of kick the doors open to be able to come forward, and people attacked his mental health, and obviously, they tried to pull his clearance at one point, and so he had to really go forward showing that he was serious about intelligence agency and keeping his security and also maintaining his mental health and coming to terms with a lot of problems that he had, which is perfect. You know, what else can he do? So I think he followed all of the rules there and he showed his decision process in doing so.
Mhm.
And then, you know, he definitely the night before the whistleblower hearing, they did a very brief interview with him at literally as he got out of the vehicle before he walked in, and he let them know that the DOD had definitely, um, you know, shut the doors down and said no to the closed door session that he had requested, and they really waited until the last minute to address it. He, you know, so he didn't even know if he was going to be able to or not. And then at last minute, they were like, no. And in his opinion, he was calling that an obstruction. I felt that was pretty pertinent. And then the biggest mic drop moment, and in my opinion, this was big that I had never heard before. At about 24 minutes into the interview, he describes a black triangular craft incident 300 feet in diameter that one of his very close friends talked to him about, that this was a senior Navy official. It happened at a Navy base when in first thing in the morning, he pulled into the parking lot. And as he pulled into this Navy base parking lot, a 300-foot silent black triangular craft just hovered static above him. And he talks that it had omnidirectional lights and it was silent. And then he goes on to say that there was ionizing radiation residue on his vehicle. So the top of his car appeared to have like UV radiation burns on the vehicle. And he got a little bit descriptive into one of these witnesses cases that came directly to him. So this was one of the more convincing cases for him, and it obviously motivated him to come forward. This is one of them. And then in the final few minutes, 15 minutes of the interview, Gary Nolan talks, and in my opinion, this was massive, showed on film, and discusses the sources of alien artifacts that were given to him by Jacques Vallée. And all four of those were pretty big, um, you know, drops, in my opinion, that came out of this video. I'm definitely gonna have to watch it again. I'm sure there's more
Mm.
nuggets in there, but that's what I scraped off the initial watch. Your thoughts?
Well, this it's funny because the when I was listening to that 300-foot craft, it almost sounded very similar to the case that uh, that Congressman Matt, oh, what's the guy who looks like a combination of Beavis and Butthead? Uh, what's his name?
I
He's a
can't.
Republican.
I
Matt. Why can't I figure his name out right now?
Oh, it's okay. Anyways,
But
um,
getting to the point is during the hearings, he had stated that he had had a number of people from his Matt Gates, thank you,
there it is.
Lester Jules. Okay, he had stated that he had a number of military people come up to him talking about almost that exact same story of a craft the size of a football field that was hovering over the base in the early mornings. And I'm wondering if that's the same case that Grusch had mentioned, but maybe didn't want to go public with it at that time.
Definitely possible, and maybe we'll get some more details, and who knows, perhaps there is some kind of, evidence of that. Hopefully not just hearsay, but yeah, that was for me, that was big, hearing it coming out of his mouth as far as part of the, evidentiary library that he was considering when he came forward, and yes, it definitely tells you the circle of people that are talking about this. And then to end their conversation with Gary Nolan, I think showcasing and discussing all those alien artifacts that he's researching. You know, there was a little mini briefcase with quite a few items in there. So it looks like there, could be results. Hopefully we get them publicly. But again, it was an eye opener for me because I didn't know that they had artifacts that they were able to reasonably research at this point, were willing to discuss. And, there was also a brief, looked like inside a restaurant, a brief forum that was taking place with some public that was able to ask David Grusch some questions and answers there. And I thought that was also great.
I love that. I mean, too bad that the questions that they put on camera were real fluff questions, but I guess they had to be very careful with that. The other thing that I will say about this is he also gets into the fact that he didn't learn until his mid 30s that he was on the autism spectrum. And
Right.
and that is something that we hadn't had that confirmed until after he became public, a few weeks after he became public. So the fact that he addressed that was very, very enlightening as well. And I also, like you, I thought it was very brave of him talking about how people were coming after him, his wife, the threats. This was way before the reports on from the journal Ken Klippenstein, okay, had made it into the Intercept, because this was filmed before that. So it's very interesting to see how it all played out. Tim Seanor and the UFO Report continue on Spaced Out Radio, and when we return on the mighty SOR, Timmy will get to the number of aircraft being seen. What do you got for us, Tim? We'll figure it out when we return. Random guys just chewing you up in the chat room tonight.
Yeah, he wishes that I had my spotlights on. I don't know what I did. I actually just got home, as you know. I was rushing to get
I
home.
know.
Worked out.
Almost stranded me.
Well, it was the difference between 1 old-fashioned and 3 old fashions, right? So I had 1 old-fashioned and came home.
Nice.
Maybe Friday. Oh, no.
Uh,
Who knows? Who knows?
I don't know. Noel O'Brien, how you doing?
Some interesting theories floating around out there. Do you wanna hear the latest?
Theories of what?
The theory of how, these little UAPs are floating around.
Well, save it for the show.
Okay.
Save it for when we
Okay.
get back. Save it for when we get back. You know?
Beautiful.
Works for me, man. Works for me. It just does. It just does.
With my camera being this dark, am I still coming through? I can't.
Yeah, you're coming through.
Okay. All right.
You's coming through, man. You is coming through. Don't you worry about that.
Looks like RG's got his streaming set up again. I'm reading in chat. This guy.
Oh.
He's gonna look all pro next time. Ooh.
Oh. That must mean the last haircut he got a part kind of cut into it.
You won't know if he's coming or going then.
Mm-hmm.
Walking at you backwards.
You got that right. You got that right. Tim is coming through as a gray with big black eyes and a disembodied voice, sounding like Tim. That is actually kind of hilarious.
That would be creepy.
I still haven't got my my update yet.
Your Tim update?
No, my Iron Maiden update.
Oh.
Still waiting. Still waiting.
I'm seeing if I can find that Hawaiian ghost photograph. Oh, I wouldn't be able to show it right now anyways.
No,
No. All right.
no.
I'll save it.
You save it, man. You save it.
What are you doing this weekend?
Feedback on your end.
I see that.
Yeah, that's big time on your end. What am I doing this weekend? I am, let's see, Saturday morning driving down to the Vancouver area so I can go, well, Chilliwack area, which is about an hour and 20 minutes east of Vancouver. And I'm going to drive down there and I am going to combat fish with the thousands of other fishermen out there for salmon because I haven't fished the river in 8 years. And I used to fish there between 4 and 6 times a week during fishing season. So I'm gonna fish the hell out of that river for 2 days, and then I'm gonna eat Thanksgiving dinner Sunday night, and then come home on Monday and prep for the show. It's Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend coming up.
That's so cool. And you guys celebrate with salmon. Beautiful.
Oh no, just this is the time of the year when the coho are running. That's what makes it fun. My first concert, by the way, in the chat room was Skid Row opening up for Aerosmith in 1989.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, it was a good show.
My first show, I think, was Bob Dylan and the Grateful Dead playing together.
Nice. Thank you, Cat Chaser, Horror Realm, Debster, Louie, and Lori for the great super chats. Here we go, everybody. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon at the SOR Space Travelers Club. We continue on with the UFO report. Little Timmy Seanor, our resident Timbit, is here, and tiny, teeny, baby, weeny UFOs. What's going on with these, Tim?
I have no idea what. Kick it off. Are you reading something I should be reading?
No,
Tiny.
you mentioned that you wanted to mention about these tiny UAPs that people are seeing.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not necessarily tiny or not, but I think the explanation potentially could be out there that people are looking into the fact that UAP don't seem to necessarily have to negotiate amongst the same physics that we do on this planet. And I think some of the theories out there have been that there's a force field or a bubble, a time warp bubble, if you will, even around some of the craft. If this is happening, and they can look like a glowing ball in the sky, but there's this, they're supposedly wrapped in this bubble that protects them from not only our physics, but time itself. And so they're kind of in stasis, is this theory. And so I just wondered what your theory was if UFO are subject to our physics. Um, do you think that it could potentially exist in this artificial warp bubble and not be subject to the same physics that we are?
Well, I don't think UFOs are a part of our current physics. I think they are a part of our future physics. How's that for being scientific-y?
And
Put to
vague. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
no, but I do believe that eventually once, it comes out. Look, if we have craft, which I do believe we do, okay, and we have been able to successfully re reverse engineer these craft, places like Raytheon and Lockheed and Boeing, they all will get a little piece of that, or I would assume they would. And they would be the ones who would be able to, potentially open up that can of physics and see what we are missing on Earth here that would be conducive to what we know as of right now. Okay. Now, where they're coming from, how they're getting here, how they travel, is it wormholes? Is it portals? Is it bending the space-time continuum? Or do they have to travel at 88 miles per hour? I don't know. I don't know how they're getting here. Okay. But the fact is, you know, we are seeing things that we are not used to. Where we could become more definitive on this is if we were ever able to, and we never will be, but if we were ever able to figure out what places like Lockheed Skunk Works is truly working on, how far advanced are we? Because remember what people like Random Guy have said on this show before, okay? And that is, we don't know, like, how do you put it? Humanity, and I'm paraphrasing here, humanity hasn't seen what is already being flown.
Right.
Okay. And you know we know that that out of certain places, that craft that people claim are UFOs are not, right? So we don't really know, or we don't have, the public is dumb when it comes to trying to figure out what is a UFO and what isn't. I mean, and I've talked to Random Guy before about this, where he has stated that about 90% of all the craft that we see in the sky is human, one way or another, human created.
Yeah.
It's that 10% that we don't know. Okay, that 10% that has really messed a lot of people up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, how do we even answer that question? I really don't know, Tim. What's
Right.
your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts kind of go to maybe another aspect of this. So, for all the wrangling, advocates for and against the serious investigation of UFO share something in common, right? They all focus on the question of whether the phenomenon is something that exists in nature, whether worldly or otherworldly. And so we don't conclusively know if UFO physically exists beyond the mundane, but we do know this: UFOs are social facts, right? Debate about them is transforming our politics and culture with effects that are largely overlooked. So, social scientists should weigh in on UFO now, and it's a task for whether they are a task for which they are well equipped. And so I'm reading from a current article from Scientific American that discovers and discusses this exact topic, because they not only offer effective techniques for assessing social change, but for decades, social scientists have been conducting research on such relevant topics as human technological systems, behavioral factors in manned space travel, public attitudes towards UFOs, and the psychological and cognitive aspects of sightings themselves. So I find that's really interesting to know that not just the psychological, but the psychophysical and cognitive aspects of UFO sightings are being studied. And so to start, there are at least three pressing issues surrounding UAP that bear serious study and discussion: intelligence, trust, and research ethics. And once you start those discussions, you can get into the context of other aspects. But Dave, definitely there's a social aspect to UFO, whether phenomenon is real or not. Do you agree?
Oh, I would totally agree with you. It's special. Totally agree. I mean, we're dealing with things that are written right out of a scientific fiction book. I mean, this is we're dealing with things that we don't we can't even comprehend. And just because it seems so surreal or unreal doesn't mean that it isn't existing. I mean, look, most of us who are listening to this show grew up with the Jetsons. We expected by now that we'd have flying cars, which we do, but that they would be a hell of a lot more prevalent than they are today. We expected that, we could press a button and our toaster would somehow magically just make toast for the morning, and
Yeah,
scramble some eggs just like the Jetsons, man.
yeah.
Each and every one of us expected to have a Rosie in our house.
Oh, if only.
If only. Absolutely. And eh, but life hasn't gone that way, unfortunately. And all the good secrets are being well hidden from us.
Yeah, it seems like the humans have focused more on war than, sharing science and technology to benefit us all like the Jetson lifestyle. Instead, we've gone into high-tech weaponry and secret space force and who knows what else. I literally have no idea, but you're so right. Where's my flying car, Dave?
I want my flying car, damn it. And I want more than the flying car. I want I want a Rosie robot.
And
And
those boots. He had hover boots, didn't he?
the hover boots were fun. Where's Cogswell Cogs when you need him?
Oh,
Let's just
man.
be let's just be honest. What the hell is a Cogswell Cog? Nobody really knows, you know. It just made whatever the hell cogs were,
Yeah.
right?
What a subtle point to that cartoon, though, because that was, like, definitely imitating life at the time, and you could read it in Life magazine. People were really thought that they were gonna have that right around the corner, the atomic age. People thought the atomic age was gonna bring all kinds of scientific benefits to the home, and really, I think it was a massive letdown. We got television, and that's about it. I remember my family getting a color TV. I know that sounds crazy, but having a television when I was a kid was a big deal, and it was a luxury.
I remember having 3 channels, my man.
Yeah, I remember that too.
3 channels. I remember having to turn the television to channel 3 to flip the switch in the back to make sure your Atari 2600 was
Oh, yeah.
connected properly.
I remember that switch. I remember that switch very well, very RCA, very hip.
Very, very. I mean, I remember my dad's 300-pound television in the wood frame,
It's a
right?
commitment, that's right. Getting a
Abs
new TV was a massive ordeal.
Oh my goodness. I remember my parents getting their first remote control TV.
Miracle.
It was amazing,
Yeah,
and we all had to go in there and press the buttons, and oh my, to get to channel 90, press 09, right?
changed life forever right
Oh,
there.
I was a happy kid because I was the volume changer and the channel changer. It was fantastic,
Right.
but we have got some technology. I mean, internet,
I th
has
I think the cell phone, putting a microcomputer in everyone's hand is pretty much that, and the internet is the biggest step that we've taken since we walked on the moon, in my opinion.
yeah, I remember. I wasn't born during then, you were, because
Yeah,
you're older than me. But I mean, I think we all kind of accepted a little bit more or expected a little bit more than what we have right now. Maybe this is why we're a little bit churlish about accepting um, AI technology as the way it is right now. You know what I'm saying? So,
indeed. But socially, I think it's been a topic forever, and I think that UFO, although fringe, has been somewhere in the parlance of reality for everybody. I don't think it would take too much to convince even the biggest skeptic, if they were shown something, technological or something like what I saw, or maybe you've seen that changed your mind about it, something, big. It That's it. I mean, that's kind of these big steps that it's gotta take. But,
What would you like to see? Let me throw that question at you. What would you like to see if it's out there? What would you like to see advanced for the betterment of humanity?
well, what I would like to see is something that initiated a massive amount of peace, and so something free energy that was given at the same time to everybody that solved a lot of problems for everybody. I would love that. I mean, if that was available, I think that would solve at least half the wars, if not all. I don't know, but free energy would definitely be a massive step. That's what I would love to see. If that could initiate peace, that would be the dream.
For me, I would love to see the technology of flight improve. The
Oh, yeah.
seating, the okay.
You hate flying because of the yeah, I get that.
No, but everybody, okay, I'm sorry, but in
He's like,
today's
"I want
world,
better services on these flights.
no,
Maybe better legroom,
legroom is definitely one of them, okay? I
but
mean,
faster, right?"
if you look at the way they put the seating in the first, like, 707s, the seats were spread out,
Yeah.
okay? You actually had leg room to stretch your legs. Today, you might as well not even call the back of the cabin, a seating arrangement. You might as well call it the cargo bay,
Yeah.
okay? You sit in that last 20 rows, you're in the cargo bay.
Yeah, there's basically a net holding you in. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. And but here's my thing. I'm eh, every time I see an aircraft fly in the sky, okay, I look at that aircraft and I think, how antiquated is that technology? Yes, the technology inside to fly it has improved, but the shape of the aircraft is still the same. The speed of the aircraft is still the same. And with today's technology, I really don't believe, and I'm not a scientist by any choice of the word, okay? But there is no bloody way there should still be 19 or 21-hour flights going around this world, or even going from Vancouver to New York shouldn't take 6 hours
Yeah.
at this point in flight technology.
Yeah. The
And
flying wing, I mean, right? The flying wing, kinda like um, what would have been the Phoenix Lights, something massive like that. Forget about it. That'd be all window seats, nothing but aisle and window seats. Think about that, baby.
mhm. Now
Yeah,
I understand there's a cost to that because flying Mach speed is a very expensive process. Okay, because of the amount of fuel that it eats up. So in order to do that, you would have to, try and get some different type of energy on the plane
yeah,
to create its speed or whatever, whether it's nuclear energy or whether it's something else, we don't know. Okay, but I just, it picks me, man. It picks my butt that, that every time I'm at an airport, to think I'm like, even if I were to fly down to see you, I'm still a 2 hour, an hour and a half flight away, right? Or to go to, if I wanted to travel to Australia, 19 hours, man. 19 hours in a tube, in a cargo bay of a tube, because I can't afford business class or first class. 19 hours in a tube.
bring back the Concorde.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah,
Bring back the Concorde. But that's what I would like to see changed. And I think that, at places like Area 51, I think companies like Lockheed, Skunk Works, and other aircraft manufacturers that are working out there are being a little too greedy with the technology because they want that military dollar. And it has nothing to do with UFOs. It has to do with that military contract and that military dollar that equals into the billions for shareholders. And in the meantime, we still fly in 1950s style.
Yeah. So
I think
true.
it's ridiculous.
So
I do.
true.
That's what I would like to see change. We got 3 minutes to go. You
Cool.
got anything else for us, Tim?
So the new Liberation Times article just dropped today. Congressional UFO language debate and Washington's web of conflicts and interests. And so Christopher Sharp is talking about the complexity and the conflicts and grave national security concerns taking place over the UAP language, which could be included within the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act and has been created alleged divisions among executive branch colleagues in Washington, D.C. But may some of these apparent divisions stem from conflicts of interest? Well, firstly, let's look at Lloyd Austin, U.S. Secretary of Defense. As reported by journalists Michael Schellenberger, Andrew Moore, and Phoebe Smith within the publication known as The Public, sources have alleged that Austin is attempting to undermine the UAP amendment included in draft NDAA legislation. Sources have confirmed that to Liberation Times and that these aforementioned allegations are indeed correct. So, Austin, former board member of defense contractor Raytheon Technologies, which may have at least partially influenced his need to express concerns over the Schumer amendment. Dave, I know we can't get too deep into this, and maybe we can talk again on Wednesday about it, but I'll tell you, it's getting heated, and potentially with people working so strongly against this position with conflicts of interest as we're seeing, perhaps this debate is going to wage on. Do you have anything you want to throw at this?
Well, I think they got to clean the mess up. And, the other thing that I will say is this: we forewarned people, Tim, that when this subject became very political, okay, and politicians started getting, involved with UAP or UFO, whatever you want to call it, okay, that this subject was going to get ugly. It was going to get tainted. It was going to cause divides. I mean, we've seen a lot of divisions starting, especially with those politicians who are in major military areas, okay, like Mike Turner, where his, in his area is Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And this is only going to get uglier as it continues. We also have to remember that outside of those playing the military game, there are a number of people who don't want disclosure for whatever reason it is. Maybe it's religious, maybe it's personal, maybe it's because they think it's a waste of time, or they don't believe in the subject whatsoever. We're still in a very uphill battle here with the politicians, and it's going to get uglier and uglier. And I think that's why many people, including the military and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, really want to push this back under the rug so that way they can shut a lot of people up.
Yeah, well, I think it's potentially a conflict of interest. If people have ties to outside parties, such as the former connections he has, or Austin had with Raytheon, that puts fears into people. It could potentially jeopardize national security if you are taking any outside source into consideration when you're making decisions. And so there's going to be a lot more of this coming forward. But the fact is, he's not the only one that's on the defense when it comes to this topic. A lot of people, like you're saying, are trying to squash it. And as we've even said here, politics are pretty dirty. We know it's dirty games.
Oh yeah, you got that. I love that politics. We're gonna make a shirt for that for the Spaced Out Radio website. Tim Seanor, thank you for another great edition of the UFO Report. We'll talk to you in a couple days' time.
Thanks, bud.
And big thank you to Max Hawthorne for a great show as well. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, yep, we got room for them too. Good night.